Hi everyone, welcome to Romance Stories. Before watching the video, please give me a like and subscribe. Thank you very much. Waking up from a drunken stupor, I realized my stepsister and I had spent the night together in a blurry haze. Panic seized me, and my only instinct was to flee. I even applied to study abroad just to escape the situation. As I waited at the airport, heart racing with anxiety and fear, my stepsister suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Her first words were sharp interrogation. "Do you really hate me that much? You'd rather fly across the ocean than say a single word to me, my dear little brother?" Then, without warning, she pressed her lips against mine. To explain how we got here, I have to talk about my mother. She remarried a tycoon in the elite financial circles. Their romance was the talk of the town, and eventually, surrounded by everyone's blessings, they walked down the aisle. Naturally, I was brought into our new home. I was only 3 years old then, a tiny toddler with no memories of anything else. I grew up in the Miller household. My stepfather truly loved my mother, and that love extended to me. He treated me so well that I viewed him as my biological father and his daughter, Elena, as my biological sister. When we were kids, she was wonderful to me. But as I grew older, for reasons I couldn't grasp, we drifted apart. It was a constant source of quiet frustration for me. I eventually convinced myself that this was normal. Many siblings grow distant as they grow up. Though I felt a lingering sense of loss, I consoled myself with the thought that life rarely goes perfectly. Just as I had accepted the fact that I had gone from Elena's closest confidant to a distant relative, the unthinkable happened. I woke up in Elena's bed, my entire body aching. I stared at the ceiling for a long time before my soul felt like it had returned to my body. The chaotic memories of last night came rushing back. I vaguely recalled a voice whispering in my ear, "Little brother, can't take it anymore," along with other tangled, blurred words. Thinking about it made my face flush a deep crimson. I tried to shut out the echoes, but it was useless. Even worse, the person beside me felt me move. A soft, pale arm wrapped around me, pulling me into a firm embrace. A woman's voice, thick with exhaustion, drifted over. "Is my little brother awake?" I didn't dare breathe. I didn't dare look up, terrified she would realize exactly who I was. "Doesn't Elena have a boyfriend?" She said so herself. Last weekend, during a family dinner, my parents were chatting. They brought up the neighbor's grandson's 1-month celebration, which naturally pivoted to the topic of marriage. The pressure was on her first. My mother asked, "Elena, you're 25 now. Is there any young man you've taken an interest in?" At that moment, I had just finished eating and was lounging unceremoniously on the sofa in the living room, focused on my handheld game. My stepfather was holding my mother. They weren't the type to force us into anything. Elena gave a non-committal answer. I happened to clear a level right then, and while the in-game animation played, I looked over at her curiously. My sister is beautiful, has a great personality, and our family background is beyond reproach. From childhood until now, she's had countless suitors and love letters, but she never seemed to fancy anyone. The Miller family was never short on suitors looking for a strategic marriage. Plenty of wealthy heirs tried to climb the social ladder through union with us, but they were all rejected. I was dying of curiosity. Who did she actually like? Who is he? I had asked her. Do I know him? She just spared me a glance and didn't bother to answer. I didn't give up and kept pressing. Who is it really? Who's your boyfriend? Why are you hiding him so well? Suddenly, Elena snapped. She let out a cold laugh. Who my boyfriend is has absolutely nothing to do with you. I rubbed my nose helplessly, thinking to myself, our parents are the ones pressuring you to marry. Why are you taking your anger out on me? I'm just a punching bag for no reason. Sure enough, as siblings grow up, the bond fades. She wouldn't even tell me she had a boyfriend. But now wasn't the time to wonder who the lucky guy was. The problem was Elena's hand. It was moving, and I was so terrified I didn't dare budge an inch. From this angle, she couldn't see my face yet. "Little brother," she murmured slowly, "it's still early." "What do you mean it's still early?" I froze instantly. Was she mistaking me for her boyfriend? Were she and her boyfriend always this intimate? If I lifted my head, wouldn't the secret be out? Since she hadn't realized it yet, likely assuming my silence was consent, I acted on pure panic. Just as she started to prop herself up to look at me, I reached out, covered her eyes, flipped her over, and pinned her down. She let out a confused hum, then giggled. Going for another round, little brother? You certainly have stamina. Oh, this is a disaster. I'm going insane. I scrambled to pull the duvet over myself. Elena clearly didn't suspect for a second that the person beside her wasn't her boyfriend. She curled her legs up and teased, "Shy now?" I hid under the covers and muffled my voice. "Just go, please." She sighed helplessly. "I'll go prep lunch then. You rest a bit more, little brother. I'll wake you when it's ready." The door finally closed with a thud. I crawled out from under the blanket, staring at my own body in a daze. I gave myself a sharp pinch. Ow, that hurts. This wasn't a dream. Elena was just outside, and her brother, I could only remember going to a party with her last night. Someone must have spiked the drinks. We both had some. My whole body fell off. My mind was a fog. And Elena had mistaken me for a boyfriend, calling me good little brother before things turned into this nightmare. I buried my face in my hands, panicking. What do I do? I have to sneak out. Elena's apartment had an open-plan kitchen. If I walked straight out, she'd catch me for sure. While I was debating my move, she came back. Hearing the door open, I dove back under the covers. She patted my head through the blanket, her voice incredibly tender. "Still shy, little brother? We're out of Coke. I'm heading out to buy a bottle to make you that honey-glazed Coke chicken. Don't worry if you don't see me when you wake up. I'll be right back." Wait, does her boyfriend like Coke chicken too? Honestly, Coke and chicken are a match made in heaven. Who wouldn't like that? Anyway, forget the chicken. She was leaving. Finally, a stroke of luck. Thank you, universe. You haven't abandoned me yet. As soon as I heard the front door close, I scrambled out of bed. Damn it, where are my clothes? They were nowhere to be found. With no other choice, I threw open her wardrobe, hoping to borrow some of her boyfriend's clothes. To my horror, the entire closet was filled with women's fashion. Not a single piece of men's clothing. Does he have a separate dressing room? I didn't have time to search. I grabbed one of her long trench coats and threw it on as a makeshift outfit. Elena is 1.69 meters tall, and while this trench coat was one of her longer pieces, it was still far too short for me. But I truly had no other choice. I picked the longest one she had and threw it on. Whatever, I thought, a real man can handle a little fashion mishap. It's better than running out naked. Once I cleared the apartment complex, I let out a massive sigh of relief. I had finally made it. Even if Elena realized that the person from last night wasn't her boyfriend, she'd never suspect it was me. My secret was safe, and our sibling bond, whatever was left of it, remained intact. I found a men's clothing store nearby, swapped into some normal clothes, and headed home. The moment I reached my room, I collapsed onto the bed and rolled over. I had been up late last night, and the mental gymnastics of this morning had left me completely drained. Finally, I could relax. I told the housekeeper not to disturb me and slept straight through until the afternoon. Fortunately, my parents were traveling abroad, so no one was around to nag me about waking up for meals. Rubbing my eyes, I headed downstairs, intending to ask the staff for a bite to eat. I looked down and froze. Elena was standing right there at the base of the stairs. She looked up, her indifferent gaze sweeping over me. "Are you awake?" The words instantly triggered a flashback to her whispering, "Is my little brother awake?" this morning. I instinctively took a step back. Her expression was hard to read, so I quickly feigned surprise. "Oh, why are you home today?" She crossed her arms, looking at me with a half-smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "You tell me. How should I know?" I quickly tried to change the subject. "Have you eaten yet? I'm starving. If you haven't, I'll tell the kitchen to make an extra portion." "Eating just now?" she asked. I lied through my teeth without blinking. "Yeah. When I got home yesterday, I realized there was a huge mistake in my assignment. I stayed up all night fixing it and only just woke up." "Up all night at home doing assignments?" she repeated, her tone dripping with hidden meaning. I nodded vigorously. "That's right. Go eat then," Elena said with a peculiar emphasis. "My dear little brother, you must be exhausted after working so hard all night. You deserve a good meal." Normally, Elena didn't spend much time at the family house, but she stayed over for the next 2 days. I guess she must have had a massive fight with her boyfriend. After all, considering what happened, it would be hard for him not to notice something was wrong. I couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Whoever my future brother-in-law is, I'm truly sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. It was so frustrating. I glanced at my actual unfinished assignments. I'm already a senior in college, and I still have to deal with this. Maybe I should just go study abroad and get it over with. Living under the same roof like this, we're bound to cross paths sooner or later. If I were her boyfriend, I definitely wouldn't be able to stand this. Even though Elena still doesn't know who that person was, I've already started looking into several foreign universities and submitting applications for a master's degree. As it turned out, before my applications were even accepted, something unexpected happened. We were both at home today, and the kitchen had prepared a spread of delicious dishes. She didn't seem to be going out today, yet for some reason, she was fully dressed up. She was even wearing red high heels. Black stockings hugged her long, slender legs. Above them, the fabric pinched her thighs slightly, and the glimpse of skin between her skirt and the stockings was distracting. I couldn't help but swallow hard. Feeling guilty, I quickly averted my eyes and focused on my food. Elena moved a piece of vegetable into my bowl. I thought it would be polite to eat it, but the moment the fish entered my mouth, I froze. Something felt wrong. Under the table, something seemed to be brushing against my shin. A numbing, tingling sensation crawled up my leg, making my heart race as if ants were crawling over it. My breath hitched instantly. I jerked my head up, locking eyes with Elena. She was looking at me with a playful, knowing smirk. "Little brother, why aren't you eating?" I scrambled for an excuse. "The fish is too fishy today. It doesn't taste good." She took a bite to taste it. "I think it's fine." I started babbling nonsense. "Is something wrong with your sense of taste?" Elena put down her chopsticks, pulled out a tissue, and naturally wiped the corner of my mouth. "Is that so? Maybe my taste is broken then." I thought my little brother just wasn't focused on his meal. "Little brother, why are your legs so tense?" I felt my heart skip a violent beat. Her words weren't just about my legs. Besides, her foot hadn't moved away. I tried to suppress my racing heart and feign calmness. "Elena, we're eating. If I'm not focused on the table, where else would I be looking?" Fine. Let's eat," she said, finally dropping the subject. I placed a piece of fish in her bowl. "Since you like fish, eat more. Don't let it go to waste." Before I could even set the next piece down, she leaned forward and bit directly onto my chopsticks. Elena slowly chewed the fish and looked up. "It really is delicious." "Wait, those are my chopsticks." Just as I was about to stand up, she spoke again. "Do you really hate me that much?" "It's not about hating or not hating," I reminded her delicately. "Elena, you have a boyfriend." A look of sadness clouded her face. "Vince, you're all grown up now and you hate me. You weren't like this when we were kids." "I don't hate you." She didn't say whether she believed me or not, leaving me with no choice. I had to continue using the chopsticks she had just bitten. As I did, I couldn't help but remember her chaotic kiss from that night. How she had grabbed my tie, pushed me against the wall, and stood on her tiptoes to kiss me. At that moment, my brain had overheated, and we were like two stray dogs, biting each other and refusing to let go. "Oh, stop thinking about it. If I keep this up, I won't even dare go back to my room." I lowered my head and shoveled food into my mouth. Elena placed a piece of Coke-glazed chicken wing in my bowl and said, "Slow down, little brother. No one's going to snatch it from you." I ignored her. I just wanted to eat fast and bolt. Later, I secretly ordered delivery on my phone and poked my head out of my room like a scout. Elena hadn't come out of her suite. This villa is massive. Every bedroom was designed with its own small study. Elena usually works in her room, and unless it's mealtime or someone is specifically looking for someone else, we rarely cross paths. Confirming she wasn't around, I crept downstairs like a thief. To my horror, halfway down the second-floor stairs, the housekeeper spotted me. He was holding a plain, unlabeled bag and called out to me. "Young master, the food you ordered is here." I nearly jumped out of my skin, silently pleading with him not to speak so loudly. Didn't I tell the delivery guy to leave it in the bushes? How did the housekeeper find it? I rushed down and snatched the bag from him. He suspiciously checked the packaging, only sighing in relief once he confirmed the seal hadn't been tampered with. At that exact moment, a door opened on the second floor. The sound of Elena's footsteps drew closer. I hesitated. Should I run back to my room and risk a collision or keep heading down? Before I could move, someone grabbed the hood of my pajamas. The housekeeper, sensing the tension, made a quick exit downstairs, leaving just the two of us. Elena's voice was soft and gentle. "Vince, what did you buy?" She stepped up beside me, her manner natural yet impossible to resist. She took the bag from me, It was tightly sealed, so the contents weren't visible. With a sharp rip, Elena began to tear the seal, saying, "Let me see." In a panic, I grabbed her hand. "Elena, you can't just touch my things. Don't open it further. It's a toy I bought." Her fingers paused. She looked down at me, let out a long sigh, and handed the bag back. "Vince, no matter what happens, you can always talk to me." I stayed silent, thinking to myself, how could I possibly tell you? I've slept with you, and now I'm terrified you might be pregnant. I sat in my room while a movie played on the projector. Usually I get emotional watching this, but today I felt nothing. I closed my eyes, clutching the item I just bought. Suddenly, Elena's face appeared in my mind, along with her seductive, raspy voice whispering, "Good boy, little brother." I snapped my eyes open, grabbed a tissue, and collapsed onto the bed, feeling lifeless. When I finally drifted off, she was in my dreams again. But this time, at the height of the passion, a faceless man burst through the door, claiming to be my brother-in-law and beating me senseless. Great. Now I'm the third wheel in my own nightmare. To avoid her, I went to an internet cafe to play games. My character kept dying, and my teammates started flaming me. Dazed, I typed back some insults, lost the match, and lost all interest in playing another. As I stepped out of the cafe, my phone buzzed with a message from Big Sis. "Vince, do you want some spicy crawfish?" I froze for a moment before typing back. "No." "What about street-style grilled squid?" "No." "How about loaded fries?" "Little brother, I'm at the snack street. Is there anything you want? I'll bring it home for you." I stared at the words, little brother, for a long time. I used to think nothing of it, but now I knew she called her boyfriend the exact same thing. Even though the title technically applied to me, it made my skin crawl with discomfort. It wasn't just awkward, it felt heavy. I replied, "I don't want anything. I have no appetite today. Also, could you stop calling me little brother? I have a name." The top of the WeChat screen showed typing for nearly 30 seconds. Finally, she sent a single word. "Okay." My flight out of the country was scheduled to depart tomorrow. The sooner I could leave, the better. At twilight, I sat in the courtyard to catch the evening breeze. The steady sway of the swing was lulling me to sleep. In my haze, I felt something soft brush against my lips. Then a warm female voice whispered in my ear, "Go to sleep, little brother. I'll wake you when it's time for dinner." Exhausted, I murmured a faint response. Honestly, my sister used to be quite wonderful to me. I wasn't sure when exactly she started acting cold. Maybe when I was 19? Back then, I had taken Elena to a club party. After we returned, her attitude toward me chilled instantly, as if she had stopped liking me overnight. I probably shouldn't have brought her along. Drowsy, I asked, "Elena, why don't you like me anymore?" She was silent for a long moment before saying, "Vince." I couldn't hear the rest of what she said. I'd already drifted off. The next morning, I woke up and stretched, only to be startled. Elena was rarely in the living room this early, but there she was, scrolling through her phone. Seeing her, I offered a greeting. "Elena, morning." She acknowledged me, set her phone aside, and said, "Come eat." I shook my head. "I'm not hungry." She glanced at me, but didn't push me to eat breakfast. "Are you heading out?" I nodded. "In a bit." Elena didn't ask where I was going. Instead, she asked, "Vince, is there anything you want to tell me?" I hesitated for a split second. "No, nothing." She reached out, brushing a stray lock of hair from my forehead. "Really? Nothing at all?" I thought about it for a moment. "Oh, actually there is. I'm planning to go abroad for my master's. Could you give me some advice? Where do you think I should go?" Elena fell silent for a long time. Sensing something was off, I looked up and locked eyes with her. Her gaze was unreadable. "Study abroad?" "Yeah. I'm graduating soon after all." She cut me off. "Stay here. You've never mentioned going abroad before." That was then. I used to think foreign countries were too unfamiliar, and I'm not really the adventurous type. But something unexpected happened. I couldn't stay in the country. Living under the same roof as Elena meant eventually seeing her boyfriend every day. They might not know what happened, but it would eat me alive. Thinking of him, I asked, "By the way, Elena, who exactly is your boyfriend? Why haven't I ever seen him?" She never posted about anyone else on WeChat, and she had never brought anyone home. Elena stepped closer to me. "You've seen him." We were already standing close, but as she took that step forward, the distance between us vanished completely. I could catch the faint scent of bitter orange lingering on her, and I no longer had the mental capacity to process what she meant by "you've seen him." I felt her tilt her head up, her soft breath brushing against my Adam's apple, sending a prickle of heat through me. Elena's voice dropped to a raspy whisper. "Little brother, do you really want to know?" Panic flared in my pupils. I spun around to flee. I don't want to know." I snatched my phone and ran out without looking back. Something felt dangerously off. If I didn't run now, I felt like something irreversible was about to happen. Later, as I sat at the airport waiting for my flight, my mind was a chaotic mess. One moment, I was back in that night of the accident, hearing Elena's ragged breaths as she whispered "little brother" in my ear. The next, I remembered the family dinner where she claimed to have someone she liked. The images flashed from her empty wardrobe to the living room this morning. In that heavy, ambiguous atmosphere, she had asked if I truly wanted to know who her boyfriend was. Good grief, no matter how dense I am, I could feel the gravity shifting. The person she likes could be me. I buried my face in my hands. But I'm her brother. 2 flights had already boarded. Mine was next. Leaving was for the best. Once I was gone, I wouldn't have to worry about this anymore. I was restless, constantly checking and locking my phone. Elena hadn't sent a single message. If she didn't text me soon, I'd be switching to airplane mode, and that would be the end of it. I stood up, took a deep breath, and decided to splash some water on my face in the restroom. The cold water hitting my skin finally brought some clarity. Whatever, I thought. I've waited this long at the airport. I'm going through with this study abroad trip. I can't let this wait be for nothing. Who knows if Elena is just playing with me? I steel my resolve. I hadn't even taken 2 steps out of the restroom when I was slammed hard against the wall. Then, a kiss tasting of bitter orange crashed down on me. My eyes widened in shock. Elena's kiss was clumsy, devoid of technique, consisting only of frantic, desperate attack. I tried to push her away, but my hand brushed against something soft and my body instantly locked up. She let out a low, breathy laugh. "Little brother, can't take it anymore." The words sparked a flash of anger in me. Who says I can't take it? Doesn't she know you never tell a man he can't take it? This time, I truly lost my temper. I launched a counterattack, pinning her against the wall. Her eyes grew moist, physiological tears welling up at the corners. She gasped for air. "Vince, gentler." I let go just enough to give her room to breathe, then press back in. Elena's brows and eyes were flushed red, her gaze fixed on me with intense vulnerability. Just then, the intercom crackled in the distance, announcing the final boarding call. I was supposed to be on that plane. Elena wrapped her arms around my neck, her entire weight leaning into me. Her voice was still ragged, breathless, and incredibly seductive. "You're going to miss your flight." Her fingers traced a light path from my eyebrow downward. "You'd rather run away to study abroad than tell me what happened. My dear little brother. You're quite the fool, aren't you?" She exhaled a puff of warm air against my skin. "Since you're being so disobedient, how should I punish you?" My head was still spinning, far from sober, but I managed to stammer out. "You're the one who kept saying I'm your brother, not your boyfriend. What does my studying abroad have to do with you?" She was the one who insisted on the brother label first, so why is this happening now? I seized her wrists and kissed her back deeply. At that moment, an elderly man walking past caught sight of us and felt compelled to interject with some advice. "What on earth are you 2 kids doing? If something's wrong, just talk it out. Did someone miss a flight? You can just rebook. Don't fight, don't fight." Only then did I remember we were still in a crowded airport with no privacy whatsoever. I grabbed Elena's hand, my mind racing. "Let's go home and talk," I said, while the old man continued his concerned meddling. "It's good that everything's okay. Young man, don't be so angry." I nodded, appreciating his well-meaning interference. "Thank you, sir." Once we got to the car, we finally had a private sanctuary. The driver raised the partition, completely isolating the front from the back. Immediately, Elena leaned half her body against me, and my breathing turned ragged. Does she have any idea how much a shock this is for a college student like me? The air in the car turned electric instantly. I didn't dare breathe too loudly and carefully crossed my legs to hide my physical reaction. Elena seemed to deduce what was bothering me based on my earlier outburst. She wrapped her arms around my waist and whispered, "Vince, I don't have a boyfriend. The person I like is you." I turned my head away, muttering, "But you were the one who kept telling me I was just your brother." The first time she said that to me, I was 16. Elena was breathtakingly beautiful, objectively perfect, really. On top of that, she treated me incredibly well. Back in high school, whenever she dropped me off or we grabbed a meal together, it sparked a wave of gossip. My seatmate once asked, "Who's that girl you're eating with?" I twirled my pen cap and answered nonchalantly, "Just my sister." "Your biological sister?" I was focused on my exam paper and didn't look up. "No, stepsister. Our parents remarried." At the time, I truly didn't have any ulterior motives toward Elena. However, that same seatmate, who had a bit of a dark side, shared one of his precious web novels with me. The title had a 1v1 tag and an incestuous subtext. Being a frequent reader myself, I found the specific labeling curious. That night, curiosity got the better of me, and I opened the file. Good Lord, it was an eye-opener. When a person is still maturing, they are easily influenced. By the next day, whenever I looked at Elena, everything felt off. Once I noticed that shift, I started observing her more closely. Her hands were beautiful, long, slender fingers with delicate joints. Her physique was stunning. When she worked out, sweat would soak through her sports bra. When she tutored me, leaning down to look at my work, her eyelashes fluttered like butterfly wings. Elena would look at me tenderly and ask, "Did you catch that, Vince?" She was explaining auxiliary lines and parabolas, but I hadn't understood a single word. I was too busy staring at her. I lowered my head and whispered, "No, I didn't get it." Elena explained it to me one more time, but I still didn't get it. This time, my head was completely filled with her low, sultry voice. That's my biggest weakness, a deep, warm female voice. It felt like I was free falling into a trap of my own making. She asked again, "Do you know how to do it now?" "Show me." I didn't have a clue. I just stared blankly at the major problem on the exam paper. Elena nudged me. "Focus, Vince. Don't let your mind wander." "I'm explaining this one last time," she warned. "If you can't solve it, no pocket money this week." Driven by the threat to my allowance, I scrambled to concentrate, but I only managed to grasp about half of it. When I hit a wall midway through, I immediately slumped in defeat. Elena rested her chin on her hand, her eyes crinkling into a smile as she praised me. "Good boy, little brother. Don't be sad. The problem is just too hard. Stop." That was it. I needed her to stop calling me little brother. My mind started spiraling again. Elena is 3 years older than me, and I've never been good at hiding my thoughts. In front of her, my strange behavior was impossible to mask. One weekend, after I finished my homework, she took me out to a city amusement park. After a round of rides, she even bought me balloons and stuffed animals, the kind of things only kids like. I don't know what possessed me at the time, but I blurted out a question. "Vince is your little brother. After all," she had replied. "In my eyes, you'll always be that little boy who hasn't grown up. If I'm not good to you, who would I be good to?" Even then, I vaguely felt something was off, but I couldn't put my finger on why. That night, I realized someone had touched my phone. It was clear they hadn't pried into my private messages. They had only deleted one specific thing. That 1v1 forbidden romance novel. I buried my face in my hands. I didn't even have to guess. I knew Elena had deleted it. Those intrusive thoughts about her lingered for an entire year. Later, the pressure of my senior year of high school became so intense that I simply didn't have time for such nonsense. In my eyes, the Elena of my final year wasn't a sister, nor was she a fantasy. She was just a very helpful, free tutor. Back then, nothing mattered more than my grades. Once I got into university and met all kinds of people, I matured. I was no longer influenced by a single novel. On the contrary, I finally started seeing her as just my sister again. But then, out of nowhere, Elena started giving me the cold shoulder. It probably started with that club team building event. During a game of truth or dare, I pulled a dare. Confess your feelings to the first person of the opposite sex on your left. As fate would have it, the first person on my left was Elena. Since it was a club activity and everyone was on good terms, families and friends had known each other for years, the dare didn't seem too scandalous. But if I refused, I'd have to drink bitter melon juice as a penalty, which would have looked even weirder. The club members all knew Elena was my sister, and some of them started cheering. "Vince, you're so lucky. You pulled the dare for the first person on your left. I actually wanted to see you confess to the first person on your right. That's the club president." The president laughed and scolded him. You just love drama, don't you? Everyone was looking at me, and for some reason, I suddenly felt incredibly tense. Those awkward memories of my weird high school unrequited crush came rushing back in a tidal wave. So, in front of everyone, I looked at Elena and said, I like you. Elena replied simply, I like you too. Everyone groaned. Just sibling love? Boring, so boring, and moved on to the next round. But I just sat there, staring blankly at Elena's profile. She turned her head toward me. Little brother, focus on the game. There was again, she called me little brother, something she rarely did back then. I quickly suppressed those messy thoughts and went back to playing my role as the perfect sibling. As it turned out, the accident happened anyway. If I hadn't been harboring those strange feelings, finding out I'd slept with my sister would have been a total mental breakdown. Instead, I was just desperate to hide it, which only led to more mistakes. I realize now that those dirty thoughts from high school had never truly vanished. I just pushed them down again and again until they finally resurfaced. But because she said she had a boyfriend, I forced myself to be the good brother. When the car finally pulled up to the gates of our house, the two of us had just finished. Well, her eyes were still a little red. The moment the car stopped, I frantically tried to maneuver around her to get out and escape. But she gripped my hand tight. Where are you running to? I had to run. This was home, our home. It was one thing to be out in the world, but the moment I stepped onto family ground, the guilt came crashing down. I had just stopped in my tracks when I heard a woman's joyful voice. Vince, Mommy's home. Did you miss me? I froze. My mother had been traveling abroad for 2 months. She had no idea what had transpired while she was gone. She looked me up and down. Vince, you've gotten so thin. In my head, I protested. I'd actually gained 2 kilograms. Oh, she suddenly gasped. Why did you two arrive together? Elena, why are your eyes so red? Have you been crying? She let go of me and turned to look at Elena, then whipped her head back to me. Elena, who bullied you? Why are your eyes all red like that? Elena replied without blinking. Vince bullied me. My mother looked stunned. Then, Elena dropped a bombshell. We're together now. My mother's face went blank. At that moment, my stepfather slowly walked over, his expression equally paralyzed with shock. My parents were furious, especially my stepfather, who looked like he wanted to charge over and beat me senseless. Luckily, Elena stepped in just in time. She blinked innocently and said, Weren't you two just nagging us to get married a few days ago? Well, the marriage problem for both your children is solved now. Surprised? Hearing that, my stepfather looked like he wanted to thrash both of us. He quickly retreated behind my mother, but as it turned out, she looked like she wanted to hit us too. I had no choice but to look up at the ceiling in silent prayer. Fortunately, our parents are educated, reasonable people, so they didn't actually lay a hand on us. My mother pulled me aside for interrogation. What on earth happened? I got drunk that night, I stammered. And then, an accident happened. Elena stood beside me and nodded. That's right. Her gaze was fixed directly on me. She liked me. And as for that drunken night, even if we called it an accident, life doesn't usually have that many coincidences. Elena never had a boyfriend, and there was no way she could have mistaken me for someone else. She knew it was me from the very beginning. I was the only one who had truly lost my mind to the alcohol and the spiked drinks. Moreover, in my delirium, the person I was fantasizing about was her. I had pinned her against the wall, kissing her, rambling, Elena, why don't you like me? Elena, kiss me. Elena, I feel so restless. After that, I completely lost control. Oh, please, Mom, Dad, stop asking. Any more questions, and I'll die of embarrassment. My mother let out a long sigh. Fine, I won't ask anymore. I only have one question. Are you both here by choice? Without a second thought, Elena answered, Of course. I nodded vigorously as well. My mother sighed again, defeated. If you're together, you're together. Your father and I aren't old-fashioned. You're both of legal age to register a marriage. It's not like we can fight the law, can we? With those words, the massive weight in my heart finally vanished. However, in the end, we still got a scolding in the form of a physical reprimand. My parents hit me much harder, likely because they figured I had thick skin and tough meat. There was no helping it. Later, as I sat there, Elena brought the medicine to treat my welts. I wrapped my arms around her waist, burying my face against her stomach. My stepfather hadn't held back. The rattan cane had left red streaks all over my back. She gently touched my wounds and asked, "Does it hurt?" She had a few marks too, but they weren't nearly as bad as mine. I had intended to act tough and say it was nothing, but the moment I saw the heartbreak in her eyes, some mysterious force possessed me. "It hurts," I whispered. She leaned down and softly kissed a red well on my back. "One kiss for me and it won't hurt anymore." Truly, that kiss was incredibly effective. And as everyone knows, something that effective can be quite addictive. I clung to Elena, begging her for a couple more kisses. Somehow, she ended up half kneeling on the carpet, looking at me. "Little brother, do you need another kiss?" Who could possibly say no to that? If I said no, I wouldn't be a man, would I? Elena ran her fingers through my hair, playing with the strands. "Little brother, can you handle it? Do you need Big Sis to kiss you some more?" My ears turned bright red instantly. "No, no need." She let out a soft, melodic laugh. "Rest well, little brother. Go to sleep." This was the first time I had ever shared a bed with her while being completely sober. Elena had already closed her eyes. In her sleep, she looked incredibly gentle and quiet, stripped of her usual sharp edge. She looked exactly like the sister I remembered from my childhood. To be honest, her personality usually wasn't that great. Everyone at the office was terrified of her. Back in the day, when she came to school to find me, my classmates all seemed a bit intimidated by her. The Elena in other people's stories and the Elena in my eyes were two completely different people. I couldn't help but whisper a question. "Elena, when did you start liking me?" I thought she was already asleep and didn't expect an answer. To my surprise, she replied, "I don't even know." How could she not know? I realized I liked her 3 years ago. It was during that club Truth or Dare event when I told her I liked her, and she had replied, "I like you too." I got married immediately after graduating from university. The wedding had been in the works for a long time, and every detail was organized exactly to Elena's tastes. Honestly, I never expected a decisive, no-nonsense EO like her to look forward to a wedding so much. The invitations were sent out, and the big day was set for 3 months away. My high school seatmate was absolutely floored when he received the invitation. He sent me a photo of it, circling the names of the bride and groom. He followed up with a text. "Groom, Vince Miller." "Okay, I know that's you. But, classmate Vince, can you explain what's written on the bride line?" I replied, "It's Elena Miller." "Can't you read, you illiterate?" He immediately flipped out. "If I recall correctly, isn't your sister named Elena Miller?" I typed back, "Exactly." He replied with a slang term for damn, and then went offline. Later, he sent me a screenshot of a familiar-looking line of text. It was the 1v1 forbidden romance tag from that old novel. He asked, "Do you remember this?" I really didn't want to talk to him anymore. I secretly opened that old file to take another look, but before I could get through a few pages, my phone was snatched away. Elena read the title out loud, "The Dancing Kitten." She raised an eyebrow and looked at me. "So, little brother likes this kind of thing?" I instantly became a flustered mess. I mean, sure, I liked it, but saying it out loud was way too embarrassing. She stepped closer, took my hand, and whispered, "Well then, I'll have to trouble my little brother to go out and buy the outfit for me." The story ends here. Thank you for listening.